On February 3rd of this year, I made one decision that I was going to do YouTube full time and try to get monetized within the year. 175 days later, I did it. If you are a woman over 40 and you are thinking about starting or restarting your YouTube channel, this is your sign. In today's video, I want to share with you the strategy that worked for me and how it can also work for you too. So I'm going to go ahead and break this down into 3 phases because I didn't have everything figured out day 1. So this first phase, it's really about day 1 through day 45. So just for context, I want everyone to know that I didn't start with a brand new channel. I've had my YouTube channel since 2010, and I have tried YouTube multiple times and it just never stuck. In 2024, I tried to do YouTube and it didn't work out. In 2025, I tried again. So finally, this year, I told myself, this is going to be the year. I have to make it work. And that's when I embarked on a 100-day challenge. Now, the 100-day challenge was supposed to help me do 3 things. Number 1, exercise that muscle of consistency, showing up. Number 2, allow me to have enough data to see exactly what my audience wants to see from me. And number 3, the hopes of getting monetized and getting my 4,000 watch hours. So I embarked on this journey, and I have to say that it wasn't easy. When I first started, I assumed that I knew who my target audience was. I thought I was speaking to solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, service providers. I also had my content pillars already created. So I planned to talk about digital products, automation, and AI. Now, I was coming from a place of me being a business coach, me understanding positioning and personal branding and really your value proposition and all of that stuff, your brand message. I came on assuming that if I have everything put together, then I could just create the content and attract that audience. Well, I was in for a rude awakening because YouTube doesn't really work that way. So I spent a lot of time creating content and I noticed that my views were very low. And when I talk about low, I'm talking about 30 to 50 views. That was my average views for the first 45 days. And it was a little bit discouraging, but I knew that I had to just keep pushing forward. One of the things that allowed me to maintain the consistency is that I went into it knowing that I was going to do very minimal editing. I did not want to focus so much time on editing, and I wanted to focus more attention to coming up with great topics, ensuring that my titles were optimized, ensuring that I had great hooks, and just really removing myself from an expert position and really embrace the storytelling aspect. That was something very different for me, especially coming from a background as an educator, a motivational speaker. I'm so used to having a script and knowing exactly what to say. So for me personally, that was probably one of the toughest things that I had to endure, was to let go of the script. Sure, I have my notes. I'm always going to have my notes because that's just me, making sure that I hit each point. However, it felt free. I started to fall in love with the process and really love YouTube rather than the old me showing up and almost dreading to film. And so that for me was the first 45 days really falling in love with YouTube all over again. Then somewhere around day 45, I really started to notice a pattern. So it was day 44 when I had my first breakout video. And what that means is this video I consider an outlier because it wasn't the same amount of views that I normally would get, which would be anywhere between 30 and 50 views. This video hit 1.2K views. And this video was about me moving back home and really talking about my various income streams that I built at the age of 44. And the great thing about this was I recognized, okay, my audience is attracted to something in this video. Let me go ahead and post another video. And then this next video was the biggest breakout video on my channel thus far. That video hit over 11,000 views. I believe it was 11,400. And that video was the video where I realized, aha, my audience isn't solopreneurs. My audience isn't service providers and coaches. Sure, they could be, but I think my niche are individuals who want to earn more money online. And that video title was titled 44 years old, started over, and I made $8,396 in 1 month. And I did a comparison. So what I did was that video was me comparing what I made in January and what I made in February. And that gave me the data that I needed. I realized very early that, whoa, my audience likes transparency. They love real numbers, and they love money transparency, and they really love learning about how to make more money. And so when you look at video 44 on day 44 and video 45, those had to deal with making more money, multiple income streams, as well as making more money. So that told me, wait a minute, Dupay. Yes, you want to talk about automation tools and AI and digital products. However, there's a bigger thing here. Your channel is moving into what I didn't really see as clearly as I see now, but more of a finance channel as well as a business channel. So I quickly started to look at the data, and it's kind of funny because I didn't necessarily pivot my content immediately. It was almost a slow burn because I was still trying to feed my audience with the content that I wanted to create. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes looking back I made. I continued to create content that I wanted to create. Even though I had the data right there in front of me, I didn't necessarily just pivot. Had I pivoted, maybe I would have reached my goal a lot faster, but I still continued to sprinkle in a little bit of that finance content, but I still was heavily producing content around automation and digital products. But the journey was not over yet. So during this time, I started to pay attention to my thumbnails now, especially my titles. I wanted to make sure that my hook was strong, and I started to do a little bit more editing. It wasn't crazy, but I really started to put text on screens, even the chapter titles on the screens. And, it became a point where I realized, and this is something that I want you to notate very early on, is your channel needs to be less about what you want to create and more about what your audience wants to see. Of course, you need to be passionate about the thing that you're speaking about, but sometimes it's not the main topic that you think. It could be one of the subtopics, and that's what it was for me. Me showing my money transparency and my income was something that I knew that I was going to do, but like once a month. And once I did that and I continuously do that, it really started to lead me down a road of, wait a minute, this is what they want to see more of. And I love creating this content. It's not like I don't like it. I actually love it even more. It's easy for me to create this content because I'm really just documenting and showcasing my journey. I really want you to start thinking about your audience is going to tell you exactly what they want. And so make it less about what you're trying to force on them and more about what is going to be easy for you to create based on the data that they're showing you. So before we move on to the final section, we just completed section 2, which was days 45 through 162, because I want you to kind of understand how long that stretch was. That stretch was a lot of testing. And I do want to tell you that during that time, I was getting now multiple outlier videos. So I was getting videos at least multiple times a week that were reaching 1K, 5K, 9K, 14K. I think at that time, my highest actually was maybe around 14K. That was probably my highest video during days 45 through 162. Now, around days 162, I made a decision that would change everything. So I had just returned from my birthday vacation. And during my vacation, I was posting a lot of content about my vacation. And I don't think that that was probably the best thing because I had already reached momentum. I was getting multiple outlier videos. My views were slowly creeping up. And then I started posting random content about horseback riding and my time in Napa. So learn from my mistake. If you're going to do this challenge, stick with the challenge. Even if you go on vacation and you're doing other things, and as much as you want to share those things, save that content for Instagram. And I wish I would have done that because I think that kind of put a damper on my momentum. Those 2 weeks that I was just posting random content, sure, some of my audience would love to see the behind the scenes and things of that sort. But if people are on my channel to learn about finances and building a business and building multiple income streams, they want that content. So when I got back in town, I felt a little bit bummed and down because I realized that I probably broke the thing that was like starting to pick up steam. And I just was in a slump for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of personal stuff going on. Some of my friends, multiple friends, were dealing with some things, and I wasn't in the mindset to really think strategy. So I was just posting to stay consistent. And then finally, one week, it was a Wednesday, I remember, I was like, okay, God, I need your help. What is it that I need to do? I feel like I'm doing everything. And then something hit. I was like, you know what? Let me do a series. Let me come up with a series. And in the beginning, I thought I was going to do a 1-week series. And I decided to do a video, and it was titled, I Didn't Start Investing Until 45. And I was like, you know what? Let me just be real. I'm starting to get into investing. I love it. Let me do this video. And that video ended up taking off. Now, that wasn't the first video in the series. That was actually video 9. And it ended up generating over 30,000 views, being the highest outlier video on my channel thus far. And at that time, day 162, I had already reached 2,500 watch hours, but I was stuck. For weeks, my watch hours did not move. It was about 3 weeks where I was at 2,500. And I started to panic because I felt like I had already given so much into this challenge, and I was approaching day 200, which I promised myself I was going to end the challenge at day 200. So I'm at 162 and I'm sitting here, oh my goodness, this needs to work. And it worked. That one video took me past the 3,000 watch hour mark, and within 2 days I hit the 4,000 watch hour mark. So it took 175 days for me to monetize my channel. I am so happy that I did not give up, and I wouldn't have given up, but I would have probably just continued just to post until day 200 and not given any thought into strategy because I was so burnt out. But I'm glad that I gave myself that time to rest. I did post consistently. I didn't skip a day. It's been consecutively since day 1. I posted every day. However, there was a couple weeks where I just pretty much didn't give much thought into my strategy. I was just posting to post to maintain that consistency. When I finally went back to the drawing board and came up with that series, I realized, okay, this is going to work, because that first series kind of broke out from that stagnant of, 50 to 60 views. It broke out. I believe the first video got maybe a couple hundred, and then it started to kind of like taper and increase. So I knew I was onto something. And finally, day 9, that video was the video that broke out. I will say that series is a great way for your audience to come back for more. And I didn't label it as a series. I didn't say come back for tomorrow's video. I didn't say anything like that. But what I did was I was strategic in how I made sure that they knew it was a series. The thumbnails were all the same. The structure and how I structured each video was pretty much the same. The titles all pretty much had the same format and framework. The hooks were very similar. I said the same thing in the very beginning of each hook. I made sure that I had a winning formula before I maintained that consistency. And once I passed day 10, I realized, well, this is why stop now? And so I ended up going until day 17. And I have to say that that was the best decision that I have made on this journey. And so if you are watching this and you are new and you are starting over or pivoting your channel, I want to say that doing a series works, but it only works when you have a great idea. So you want to make sure that you are using data to help you map out what your series is going to be about. You want to make sure that your series is aligned with a topic that your audience wants to see more of. And that is what happened for me. I saw when I started to talk about retirement and investments, that my audience was eating it up. And so I focused on that. And that's when my channel pretty much revamped like overnight. It was crazy. It literally happened within days. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The first 100 days, if you decide to do a 100-day challenge, it's really about learning. At least it was for me. I know people who have gotten monetized within 30 days, within 2 weeks, 7 days. Everyone is going to be different. Now, like I said, I had an old channel that I then pivoted. So my channel was motivation and Christian inspiration content, and I changed it to business and finance. That is a huge pivot. And I started my channel with already 23,000 subscribers. And so after completing this challenge, I'm approaching 26,000 subs. But I can say that it was really tough to pivot an audience that was already used to seeing a certain type of content. So if you are starting a brand new channel, or if you don't have as many subs, like if you're not past 5K sub mark, I think it would be a little bit easier to pivot. But I can say this, that first 100 days, if you are starting brand new, you're learning what your audience likes, you are getting used to filming, you're getting used to your speaking style, you're getting used to your topics. You may have your content pillars, but I'm telling you right now, don't even bother. Don't even bother. Just film your content because your audience will tell you exactly what they want to see. Let the data do the speaking for you. Focus on your titles, focus on your hooks, focus on your thumbnails, because click-through rate and AVD matters. That is what I noticed that started to shift on my channel, is when I got people staying on watching longer, then my views increased. So you want to make sure that your titles and your hooks and your thumbnails do that for you. But then you also want to pay attention to the data and not try to guess what your audience wants to see more of, but let that data guide you in your ideation process. Most importantly, do not quit before you reach your goal. You need to be consistent, and you need to have the mindset that you are going to keep going no matter what. I had to have that mindset and believe that I was going to get monetized. And now that I have reached this milestone, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulder, because I never thought it was possible for me. I honestly was, come on, after day 150, most people would want to quit and say, it's not going to work. So I kept with it. I stayed in prayer. And honestly, it was really me, if I'm being completely honest, me going to God that week, that Wednesday when I started that new strategy. I said a prayer. And I may share this in another video later on this week. And there was something specific that I told God, and he showed up. And that's when I knew, okay, I'm on the right path. So do not quit. Stick with the goal that you have set for yourself. And I want to also say this, you will change your strategy multiple times. I changed mine about 3 times, and I was so used to getting low views, but I did not allow that to distract me, because it literally can take 1 outlier video or 2 outlier videos and you can get monetized and reach your goal. So do not make assumptions. Don't compare your journey to others, because that's what messed me up in the beginning. I'm thinking I can do it in 100 days because I saw other people do it. That wasn't my path. So make sure that you have a mindset that your journey is individual to you, and you can reach your milestones a lot faster, or maybe it's going to take a little bit more time. But as long as you understand your why, you're going to be good. Lastly, if there's anything that you learn from this video, I want you to understand this. When you find something that works, do not switch things up. Double down on that thing like your life depends on it. I'm telling you, had I had doubled down earlier when I had that first outlier video, or actually the second one that really was like the one that I was like, okay, I'm now moving towards that finance niche. If I would have doubled down and figured out a strategy then and just stuck to that, and I did, I was still doing a lot of videos similar to that, but I was still sprinkling in a ton of other stuff that nobody asked me for. So when you find something that works, stick to it. All right. Well, I hope that this video inspired someone who is deciding this year, especially since YouTube just increased the watch hours from 4,000 to 8,000 starting February of 2027. If you are a woman or a man over the age of 40 and you are thinking about starting or restarting your YouTube channel, this is something that you want to do full time or maybe make an additional income stream, I say now is the time to get on it. You have a good 6 months to try to get monetized with the old monetization tiers, with the 4,000 watch hours, because once those watch hours double, it's just going to be double the work. So now is the time to do it. I hope that my journey has inspired someone to take the leap. I know multiple people have started challenges because they have seen my journey. And I hope that this inspires even more people, because now I have the actual success tied to it. It's not me just doing the challenge, it's actually me completing it. On Friday, which is in a couple days, today is Monday, this will complete the end of my 200-day challenge. So stay tuned for that video. I'm going to be dropping all the stats, the analytics, everything that people are probably more curious about of how I was able to grow from day 1 to day 200. And I could say it's pretty humbling. I didn't have any crazy viral video. I didn't gain, tens of thousands of subs. However, I'm happy. And I'm satisfied. And I had one goal, and that was to get into YouTube's partner program and have my store hooked up, have, all the things that I have been looking forward to have on my channel for years. I am finally here. So I hope that this inspires you to do the same. If you are new to my channel, my name is Dupe Alaru. This was your Daily Dose with Dupe. Please subscribe. That way you can come back and you can binge watch if you would like my 200-day series. I think it's beautiful if you go back to the very beginning. A few people messaged me and said they're going to binge my videos. Go back to day 1. You will see a huge difference, especially if you want to embark on a similar challenge. Literally still my strategy. Look at what I've done. Look at the things that I avoided early on. And I already showed you the things that you can fast track the process and the mistakes that I made that you don't have to make. So hope that this helps. All right, y'all, until next time, I wish you all a beautiful and blessed day.